Hello and welcome to Provo Central Station. Today we'll be taking a ride on Frontrunner, Salt Lake City's commuter rail line from here up to Salt Lake Central Station. Our journey begins in Provo, Utah and at Provo Central Station. Nestled at the base of the Wasatch Range, Provo Station was opened on December 10th of 2012 and is the southern terminal for the Utah Transit Authority's Frontrunner commuter rail service. As an intermodal hub, the station also serves many local and interstate buses. While Provo is served by Amtrak's California Zephyr, the long-distance train doesn't actually stop here. Instead, the Zephyr stops at a smaller station about 1,000 feet west of the main station across South Freedom Boulevard. The Frontrunner commuter line gets its name from the Wasatch Front. The mountains will provide a stunning backdrop for our journey north, the train ahead of ours departing right on time. As with many commuter lines around North America, UTA's Frontrunner operates a fleet of Bombardier bi-level coaches hauled by MPI MP Express locomotives. UTA's fleet of 18 locomotives and 38 rail cars allow them to run a total of 25 weekday round trips between Ogden and Provo through Salt Lake City. Climbing aboard, we head upstairs to find our seat for the ride north. As we get settled in, let's take a look at our route up to Salt Lake City. Our journey begins departing northwest out of Provo, following I-15 through Orem before briefly touching the northeast tip of Utah Lake. Traversing the Traverse Mountains, we enter Salt Lake County and the southern end of the greater Salt Lake metro area. From here north, it's a fairly straight shot up I-15, our train making stops in Draper, South Jordan, and Murray before arriving at Salt Lake Central Station. We'll cover a total of 45 miles on our ride today, with a travel time of 1 hour and 9 minutes. Departure from Provo is right on time, our train leaving as a southbound train pulls in on the opposite platform. The Wasatch Range has some beautiful views in store for us as we turn north out of Provo. As is the case with Bombardier bi-levels, Frontrunner's trains are operated in a 2x2, almost exclusively in groups of 4. Legroom on board is plenty adequate with around a foot between my knees and the next row. There's a bit of space beneath each row to stretch out, but the space fills up quickly with another passenger sitting opposite. The seats are fine for commuter rail. The padding is fairly thin, laid over a plastic base, with a vinyl headrest for easier cleaning. An armrest is found in between each seat on the standard groups, but turning our attention to the table seats, we find it has been removed to aid in accessibility. Speaking of, the tables offer around a foot of space between one's torso and the table, with an additional 5 inches between one's knees and the bottom of the workspace. The table seat groups are also the only seats to include outlets, with 2 120-volt outlets and 2 USB ports. Conveniently, because each car is laid out in groups of 4, each window is aligned perfectly to the seats, so there's never a bad view of the world outside. A world in this case which includes some great views of the Wasatch Range. Turning our attention to the interior in general, the surrounding amenities are limited but expected for a commuter line. Frontrunner's fleet does not include luggage racks above each seat, with large racks found downstairs. And as is the case for most commuter trains, passenger information is displayed through dot matrix boards at either end of the coach, with line maps spaced around the car. While these cars are on the older side, Frontrunner still offers free Wi-Fi on board. Connecting to the network is easy and the speeds are quite respectable at 22.9 megabits per second. Bombardier bi-level cab cars often provide some great opportunities for footage out the front or rear of a train, and today's car is no exception. While the seats up front are closed off, the window remains. It's interesting looking back and seeing just how much smoother and newer the Frontrunner tracks are compared to the freight mainline we're running alongside. And there's a good reason for that. Frontrunner trains run on their own tracks. The entirety of the Frontrunner line from Provo up to Ogden is separated from the freight mainline, which means Frontrunner trains can stay on time even if there are delays on the freight line. And of course, with no freight trains, the wear on the rails is minimal, leaving us with the incredible contrast of the tracks behind. Returning to our seat, we can take a minute to gaze out the window and enjoy the views of the Wasatch Range. We reach the lower level right as our train pulls into Vineyard Station. One of the 7 intermediate stations, our stop here lasts a little over a minute. The lower level of each bi-level coach is relatively similar to the upper level, with the seats again in groups of 4. Some cars also have half the lower level seats replaced with bike racks. The lower level is also where we'll find the bathroom on today's train, with one in each car. While this coach isn't new by any means, the bathroom is in great condition and most importantly is super clean. The sink works well with plenty of soap, paper towels, and toilet paper. For a bathroom in an older coach, this is definitely one of the nicest bi-level bathrooms I've ever seen. While each car is a separate unit, passengers can traverse the train through the manual doors. While it's not perfect, at least there's some mobility between cars should one become too crowded. Passing into the third and final car on today's train, we enter the cab end of one of Frontrunner's cab cars. The 2 seats here are what I was referring to earlier, with the row of 2 providing an unobstructed view out the cab windows and down the tracks. Of course, the view here is mostly obstructed by the car behind, but it's still cool to sit here and enjoy the cab life. The jostling rail cars and constant wind noise indicates we're moving pretty fast, and my speedometer confirms that assumption. We're cruising at around 77 miles an hour, the top speed of the line not much faster at 79. It's worth noting that while Frontrunner only has one line, it still sees tremendous passenger numbers. In 2023, Frontrunner served 3.74 million passengers, which placed it 12th of the US's 32 commuter lines, just behind MARC with 3.86 million. This high ridership stems mainly from the geographic layout of the area. Ogden, Provo, and Salt Lake City, the 3 major population centers of the area, form an almost perfect north-south line, and Frontrunner trains run straight down the center of it. This perfect alignment means the stations are never more than a few miles away from any given destination, with local buses or Salt Lake's Trax light rail taking passengers the final mile. Pulling into Murray Station, Salt Lake City's Trax light rail makes its first of 3 stops with connection to the commuter line. We'll see the second up at Salt Lake City at the end of our journey, with the third just a mile north of that at North Temple. With the light rail now running the same line north into Salt Lake City, Frontrunner trains are free to cover the final 4 miles uninterrupted, our train pulling into Salt Lake Central at the end of our journey. As expected, it's a quick pit stop for our Frontrunner service, the train continuing north towards Ogden. With our journey now complete, it's time to bring today's video to a close. Next week, we'll be back in Sweden to take an overnight journey on SJ's nattåg from Malmö to Stockholm Central. If you're new around here, I would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. It's totally free and it really helps support the channel. I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to my patrons and members. Y'all are amazing and your incredible generosity is always greatly appreciated. If you too want your name in the video or just want to support the channel in more ways than one, then head on over to the links in the description below. But anyways, that's all I have for today. Thanks for riding with me, and I'll see you in the next one.